I've been asked multiple times about who, what, where, why, how. So I'm going to briefly reminisce about my time as editor-in-chief of the Arab News. Stick around and enjoy. I have been talking about my journey with the Arab News, but I cannot go on without speaking about the people who made Arab News the powerhouse that it became during my time. One such person that springs to my mind was the late Faruk Luqman, a flamboyant character. And I remember the first day I went, Faruk Luqman was hovering about my office trying to size me up. Who is this Saudi who has come in from nowhere? I had not come in from any media background. I was not known in the media. Anyway, he came to my office, talked for a few minutes, then went out, discussed what he talked with me, with some of the colleagues who then one by one started coming in. Anyway, as the days passed by, Faruk Luqman and I started working together on several projects. It was 1982. The attack on Beirut started, and I would sit with him and talk. There were other people. And then I noticed that Faruk Luqman was one of the guys who could talk on any subject, be it the Middle East, India, Asia, Europe. He had come in from Aden originally. He was a graduate of the Columbia School of Journalism. His English was par excellence, and I enjoyed talking to him. And I'd always tell him that you and I are both Anglophiles or Anglophiles, however you pronounce it. Over the years, we really began to get to know each other more. He and I differed a lot. As I said, he was flamboyant, he was running around, he was always a nervous character, biting his nails. But what struck me about him was he was a journalist at heart. In the days of print, when you had very few access to news apart from the teletypes and some of the BBC and other news you would read about, he was a guy who would get to the hilt. He would go up to the hilt and try to get news from anywhere. In between locking horns, his journalistic drive never failed to amaze me. And I remember once there was an appointment, a senior appointment in the Indian Armed Forces, and because many of our readers were from India, he needed a picture. We couldn't get a picture through the wire services, so he went to the airport, to Jeddah airport at 8 p.m., waited for the Air India flight to come in, and asked if somebody had the Times of India. A passenger who gave it to him, he came back, took the picture from the Times of India, and lo and behold, it made it on Arab News. Such was his drive to get to the news. He would always scout around and go and come. His love for India was immense, and sometimes I would just laugh at him. He would talk on any conversation, he would bring India. Some of the Saudis would be irritated at times, but we always had a big laugh. He loved Indian music. He would sing and hum about Kishore Kumar, Muhammad Rafi, Lata Mangeshkar. He would bring us strange names, at least names that were strange to the Saudis, like Madhuri Dixit and Madhubala, and some long gone, forgotten Indian star of the 40s and the 50s. Faruk Luqman was a character. I was once asked if I was on a desert island for 3 days, whom I would love to have with me as a conversationalist. And I said Faruk Luqman, because he could talk on any subject. And I'm not exaggerating, any subject, whether it was medicine. And those days, information was hard to come by. But he read, and he found out. And he used to wait and see. There was no internet, there was no Google, but Faruk Luqman always had an answer. Surprisingly, he didn't have any interest in cricket, although he loved India and loved Indian culture, Indian music, Indian food. And every second week he would take me with him to his house, where his wife would, cook the best food for me, and I would gorge myself and then come back again to work, and then again start disagreeing with him. We had many fights together. I mean, we would really disagree on things, and he was a no-nonsense man, but he also was short-tempered when it comes to people not doing their job. For example, he once spoke so highly of Saeed Haider, one of our correspondents in the Eastern Province, and he had brought him, and then suddenly got angry at him and said he must go. And I said, why should he go? You just brought him. But he had a good heart. He had a really clean heart. He would help people. He would ask money from the publishers to give to the poor. And he would do it quietly. This was Faruk Luqman. He could write an editorial within 25 minutes. He was so good at his old Remington typewriter or the Olympia, and just, clattering of the typewriter I could hear across my room. He would then walk out, stretch his hands, and say, I'm going to go for a walk. And then we would go for a walk. Once he wanted to learn how to play tennis, and he went downstairs in the stadium opposite the Arab News, and he started playing tennis. He got one of the Indian guys to play tennis on the road. Hilarious. Faruk Luqman was a very passionate man, but he had no patience. And I observed this when recruits came in and were being shown around. And if they didn't get it right the first time, they were out. In some way, I agreed with him, because if those people who were not up to standard right from the first time, it would be very difficult for us to coach them and guide them. And on many occasions, he would come and say, get rid of this man, do this with this man, and I would sort of be a calming effect on him. But he was right. We disagreed, we fought, we had great conflicts, but there was healthy relationships. I admired him, I admired his courage. One of the things that I admired him a lot was his love for his family and his children. He truly loved them. He cared about them. He would talk about his kids. He would talk about his dreams for them. It's truly an inspiring talk that I would sit and talk with him. And we became friends. There was no editor-in-chief or managing editor. I would talk with him, so much so that many of the people would say, well, why are you sitting with him all the time? He should be in your room. I said, that doesn't matter. Wherever we are friends. I truly liked him, notwithstanding his, he loved India, and we would disagree on India. And he would say to me, why are you against India? And I would say, I'm not. But for you, India was always colorful, was always magic, nothing critical. And India was a great place then. There was no hatred, there was no bigotry, there was no malice. And it was the India of Bollywood, the India of music, the India of culture. And every time he had a vacation, he would pop off to India. So much so that the people would say that the managing editor of the Arab News was pro-India, while the editor-in-chief was pro-Pakistan, because I used to go to Pakistan a lot and met in those days General Zia-ul-Haq, Nawaz Sharif, and then later on I used to come and go and meet other people. So that was the inclination among people. And I would always say to him that you would make a great ambassador for India, to which he would beam and smile, and sometimes would say, may your wish come true. But I said, don't say that. So again, he would come and ask you, why did you say that? I love the guy. I miss him, and I truly believe that while we disagreed on 70% of our conversational issues, I truly enjoyed having that rapport with him, and I always, think about that my journey with Arab News, without Faruk Luqman being in charge of the newsroom and managing many of the things, would not have been as successful if he had not been there. So rest in peace, Faruk Luqman. Next time, I would like to talk more about some of the supporting characters who helped me in my journey. I hope you like the show. Please subscribe, share, and like, and do leave a comment.